Hello, welcome to the webinar of the master's program in Industrial Engineering and Management. So my name is Jens Schmidt. I'm an assistant professor of strategic management here at Aalto University at the Department of Industrial Engineering and Management, and I'm also the director of this program. With me today is Afnan.
Yeah, so I'm Afnan Ahmed, and I'm the current student of the program, currently in my final year, and I started last year, and I'm doing my majors in strategy and venturing, and I will also be sharing my experience later on in the presentation.
So to give you a quick idea, a quick overview of what we are going to talk about today. So we will give you an overview of the program and especially some of the highlights or what we think is special about the program and why you should apply. Then Afnan will tell a bit about the program and the student life and the university from the student perspective. Then we will still briefly talk about admission and a few words about the university. And then finally, after this presentation, we will answer questions. So you have the opportunity to ask questions, so please write the questions. And after the presentation, we will then answer those questions. So to start, industrial engineering and management as a discipline. So what does it mean? So if you think back in history, the start of the profession of industrial engineers was really in the Industrial Revolution, where the problem was, how do we organize production? How do you organize factories? So the processes around the machines. And some people would specialize in doing this. And in the meanwhile, so what has happened in the meanwhile is that the supply chains, they are nowadays distributed all around the world. There's new technologies, there's automation, machines are becoming more and more connected, data and analytics are increasingly important, platforms are becoming important, and somebody really needs to understand how to make sense of this. And so there's a need for managers who really understand the technologies deeply so that they know how to develop and organize these processes. So that need only has increased, and the skills that you learn in this field, in this profession, they're really applicable also more broadly. So not only in operations, but as an industrial engineer, you're really a generalist. So in today's world, industrial engineers are really at the sweet spot. So because increasingly leaders are needed that really understand deeply both the technology side and the business side. So what is our approach to these challenges in our program? So how do we deal with this? So we have three areas in our program. We have the more traditional perspective of operations, really the question, okay, how do we organize efficiently, but also taking a wider perspective and also looking at new technologies, how to deal with them. Then the second area is strategy and entrepreneurship. So really a holistic perspective on the organization, dealing with the big questions, considering value creation and innovation. And then finally, the third area, the third angle in our program is organization design and leadership. So the human side, how do we organize not only efficiently, but how do we motivate the people? How do we make sure that organizations are agile and flexible? And how do we change? So the overall learning objective in this program, as I already said, our students, when graduating from this program, they have an integrative understanding of technology and business. There's a strong theoretical foundation, applicable skills, and also a pragmatic can-do attitude that enables them to develop and lead technology-based businesses. So more concretely, how does this then show? So as a graduate from our program, what are the skills that you will have? So in addition to this integrative understanding of technology and business, so we will get to that in a minute, how it actually then shows in the curriculum, our graduates also have strong leadership and people skills. So this not only comes from the third area that I mentioned here, looking at the human side, but more broadly in the courses in the program. So there's a lot of interaction, a lot of joint group work, and you also see that then later on in our graduates. Many of them will eventually take leadership positions. Then a practical problem-solving skills. Again, this is really deeply embedded in our program. So in many of the courses, students solve cases, solve real-life problems together with companies. The can-do attitude, this is really one of the basic aspects here of also of our culture and our community, so that our students, our graduates, they really want to and are able to get things done. They also have an entrepreneurial mindset, which you also see in the number of startups that our graduates, our alumni have founded, but also not only starting new organizations, but also being change agents in existing organizations. So this is really something that is deeply embedded in our graduates. A broad knowledge of various organizations, so the companies, the cases that the students are working on, they might come from large organizations, established companies, relatively young companies, startups, growth companies. So you get an exposure to all these different types of organizations in the program. And finally, hands-on experience. Again, there's a lot of involvement with companies. You do the master's thesis typically for a company, and many of the students also work during the summer, have summer jobs. So really, the program is quite close to practice. Now, a few words about the program structure. So the program is a 2-year program. It has 4 elements. There's a major, a technical minor, then there's elective courses, and finally a thesis. So the program has 3 majors, and these 3 majors actually also represent the 3 areas that I talked about earlier. So operations management, which covers issues from operations strategy to the efficient execution of operations, including topics like supply chain management and project management. The major in organization design and leadership focuses on issues of designing agile organization, change, motivation, and leadership. And finally, the major in strategy and venturing focuses on topics related to strategic analysis, implementation, and corporate entrepreneurship. So to give you a bit of a deeper insight into the program, here's an overview of the majors and the different options you can choose from and the courses. There are 4 common courses. So there's 1 course from each of the majors that gives more of an introductory perspective on the topic. and then there are major specific courses for each of the majors. So for the operations management, the major or the core course is innovation in operations, which focuses on issues related to designing or redesigning operations for using emerging digital technologies. From the strategy and venturing side, the core course is advanced strategic management, which gives an overview and also goes a bit deeper into current topics related to strategy. And there's a strong focus also on technology, for example, topics like platform strategy or data analytics are also included or covered in that course. Human potential is the core course from the organization design and leadership area, and it gives a foundation basis on humans, especially related to topics of motivation and how to create and lead organizations in which the people thrive and are able to perform at their best. In addition to these 3 core courses from each of the majors, we also have a core course on data analytics, which gives an overview on different analytical methods. And really, the idea here is not to go very deep on the technical side, but seeing them, getting an understanding of the different methods really as a toolbox that you can use. So how do you use, or how do you take advantage of data and analytics to solve business problems? That is really the focus of this course. Then for each of the 3 majors, there are 2 additional major specific core courses. So for operations management, we have advanced operations management and advanced project management. Strategy and venturing, we have strategies for growth and renewal, which is really about corporate entrepreneurship, and strategy process, which is more focusing on how do you analyze a strategic problem, and also how do you then build a solution, how do you present that solution to the relevant audiences. And then in the organization design and leadership major, the core courses are designing adaptive and creative organizations and leadership as practice. Then in addition, there's a research assignment, which is a piece of academic scientific work. So in groups, you do an academic study. And then we have optional courses where you can choose from a list of different topics related to entrepreneurship, innovation, finance, financial engineering, leadership, and operations. The master's thesis is quite a large part of the program, the degree. So it is 30 credits, which basically means 1 semester, 6 months full-time work, and it is also related to the topic of the major. Now, one thing to note here is that you can get more information about the structure of the program from the link at the bottom of this slide. What is there at the moment is the current structure, and there are some small changes. So what I present here reflects how the program will look like from next year on. Then the technical minor, as said, to have this integrative understanding of the business and the technology side, you also have to have deep knowledge on a technical topic. So here's a list of different options for minors, and this is not a complete list, but there's a lot of options that you can choose from. So one thing I really want to highlight here, and what also makes this program stand out, is the flexibility of the study options that you have. So You can choose the major and the minor. You have within the major different options to choose from. And then elective studies, 25 credits. That's almost 1/4 of the degree. These are studies, courses that you can select yourself. There's a long list of topics, a variety of courses that you can take. So in Aalto University, there's a lot of courses on offer. So you can take courses in arts, philosophy, languages, product development, startups. So there's an almost endless list of options. You can also take an additional minor, so a whole entity of 20 to 25 credits. And you can also include practical training into the elective studies. As I already mentioned, we are close to practice. So you see that in the courses. So many courses include an assignment that is written for companies. Company representatives are often guest speakers in courses. Often the results of assignments are also presented to representatives of companies. The master's thesis is typically written for a company. And then there's a lot of really hands-on courses, project courses in entrepreneurship innovation, for example, where you then develop an idea or build a prototype. Then there's a lot of opportunities to visit companies. So company excursions are organized by the students. There are many events that involve companies that are happening here on the campus. And we are actually very close to the local startup scene, not the least because many of our graduates and also some of our students have started startups. So there's a very close link to practice in the program. Another thing I would like to highlight is that by studying here, you're part of a community. So we have a student guild, Prodeco. They are very active. They organize many events. So you can take a look here, follow these two links at what they actually offer, what they actually organize. Our alumni are also very active. So they really come back and help the current generation of students. So there are mentoring programs, and there's also a yearly seminar that we co-organize together with the alumni on a current topic. So this year the topic was sustainability. And the students, together with the alumni, they have thought about, okay, you know, for our community, so what are really the values? What do we actually share? And then we, as the faculty at the department, we thought this is actually really great. So we also believe in these. So we should also adopt those as our values. So these are the five values: think big, get things done, learn and grow, give back, and be a good person. So these really characterize the people we have here, the students, the alumni, and also the faculty. So there's a lot of cooperation going on between us. We have very regular, also as faculty, regular contacts with the students, also outside of the classes. So now this is also for you then, if you're interested in applying for this program, for you to think about and reflect whether this is interesting and whether you would fit into the community, whether you also share these values. So now Afnan will tell you a few things about what it is like to study here.
Yeah, thank you, Jens. So before we go on to the university part and the studies part, I would like to talk about what is it like to be here in Finland particularly, and then also where the campus is in Otaniemi. So Finland is a very diverse country with a diverse culture and a friendly environment. So Finnish people are quite typical, and they would come to you as a surprise. But when you get to know them, they're very friendly, and if you need help, they're always ready to help. It's just that you have to ask for it. The city where the university is situated, it's the capital city, Helsinki. It's the metropolitan area. That's how it's locally known. And apart from being a city with like the city life, it is also closely located in the blend of archipelago and forest, which brings nature close to the city. And there are a lot of activities that you can do if you are into nature. For example, hiking. You can go to kayaking. There are a lot of islands where people usually go on weekends to spend some time with friends or family. And like there are a lot of things that you can do even outside the university. Then when we talk about Otaniemi, the campus, and it's very multicultural and a diverse environment again. And the good thing about this year, or from this year onwards, is that all of the schools of Aalto University are now located in Otaniemi. So that means School of Arts, School of Business, School of Computer Science, and School of our department, also Industrial Engineering and Management, are closely located within the same locality. So that makes it easier to collaborate with different students from different backgrounds, from students from different majors, different programs. And that also makes it easier to do projects where you would be involved in multi-dimensional teams. And another aspect that this brings to the university life is about different events. So you might be interested in certain events that the School of Arts are organizing. And since they're closely located, you can already attend those as well. And so this is a little bit about the campus and the country. And now moving forward, we will talk about what kind of opportunities there are in this university. So here are basically 5 that I've handpicked, but of course there are plenty more. So first thing to mention here is that there are subsidized meals, accommodations, and travel expenses. This is one thing that I really like about Finland, which you probably wouldn't find elsewhere around Europe, that the meals and the accommodation and travel is subsidized for students. Then, as Jens also mentioned, there's flexibility in courses, and there are a lot of working spaces around the campus that you can use for group work, for individual work, and they're located within all the different buildings and also in the main center of the campus as well. Then the next thing to highlight here, Jens briefly mentioned about Perdeco, but there are also other societies and clubs, which, so if you have any kind of interests or hobbies, you will surely be able to find a club or a society that supports your kind of hobby or interest, so that alongside the studies you have time and you have the opportunity to indulge in those activities that can boost your morale, boost your self-esteem, and give you opportunities to collaborate with like-minded people. And then, like Prodeco is our guild from our department, there are student guilds from each department, and sometimes these guilds also collaborate to create events for the whole university. Next is the interdisciplinary collaboration, which is encouraged and promoted through different projects. So it was briefly mentioned about projects, and I will also be talking about this when I talk about my study background in the next slide. Then there are also part-time working opportunities through building the network and industry projects. And this is basically goes hand in hand with the studies. Of course, it might make the schedule a little bit hectic, but it's worth it when you are actually applying what you are learning in the classes and the courses to the actual setting of a company. Yes, so now we go through the studies part. So I will be talking about my experience, what I have chosen as my major, minor, and electives, and how things evolved through that. So my major was strategy and venturing, which basically has courses with a fine balance between academic research and practical implication. So the ideal aspect of this major is that there are courses that promotes understanding of the theory, and then you can also relate the theory to the actual practical side through company projects. And those companies have real life challenges. So basically you can coordinate what you are learning in the class by implementing those in the industry projects. Next, I'll talk a little bit about my minor. So my minor was from mechanical engineering. It was called the Global Innovation Program. It was also a year-long multidisciplinary and project-based course. We had a real-life challenge from a global company, and we had to solve it within a year. We had to develop a sort of a prototype, a proof of concept product that would actually solve the problem that was given to us. And it took around 9 months, but it was a very good experience where you have to work in a lot of cultures and with different backgrounds to develop a product. And especially if you're interested in startups and entrepreneurship, this basically gives you an insight in how it would be like to work for a small company which is just starting. Next, the beauty of flexibility in this program is highlighted by electives. So I had electives from philosophy and human potential, and those gave me a totally different context of my studies to what I was studying in my major and minor, for example. And it basically pushes you to think beyond the academics and industry and contemplate towards, for example, leading a meaningful life. So if you're interested in those areas also, for example, from literature or arts, there are many possibilities that you can choose electives from those fields and basically choose whatever you want to study. That's the core of this program. And yeah, now Jens will talk a little bit about also some facts about this program and the admission process.
Yes, thank you, Afnan. So a few facts about the program. So the language of the program is English. So there's no problem in taking the courses. All the courses that are core in the program are in English. Of course, you are also then, if you come here from abroad, encouraged to also then learn Finnish, but Finnish is not required for taking this program. There are about 60 graduates every year from the program. The teaching faculty is quite international. So of course we have a lot of faculty from Finland, but also then we have faculty from Greece, Russia, Germany, South Korea, and Canada. So me, myself, I am from Germany. Then, as already said, our alumni, they have actually co-founded many high-growth startups, some of them also well-known, a company like Supercell. So this is really typical here that our students, our graduates, they really take initiative and not only start companies, but also then are part of other types of change initiatives. And many of our students also work as volunteers for Slush. You might have heard of Slush. It is one of the largest startup and tech events in the world. And this year, I think there were around 15,000 participants. And what is actually special about this event is that it is completely run, organized by students. And our students, they take very active role in organizing Slush, and also some of our students are in leadership positions of the organization that organizes Slush. About career opportunities. So our graduates, many of our graduates work for large established companies. Here are some examples: Kone and Nokia as Finnish companies, ABB. But then also many work in startups. So the two startups that are listed here, Relics and Supercell, they're both companies that have been founded by our alumni, graduates from our program. So Supercell, a mobile gaming company, has been doing quite well. They grow quite quickly initially, and they're still doing very well. And many of our graduates and also have gotten jobs there. Relics is quite interesting because it is a company that was actually started by researchers, PhD students in our department, who also have been graduates from our master's program, and they commercialized their research. It is about retail analytics. So they have built a solution helping retailers manage their operations and their supply chains more efficiently. And they've been growing very nicely. So they recently got a 200 million investment, and they're now really expanding especially in North America. And they also hire a lot of our graduates. And then also one typical career path is consulting. So the big consulting companies, they are very interested in hiring our graduates. But these are just examples. So there's a lot of other companies, smaller consulting companies, growth companies, and also the type of positions that our graduates take. There's a lot of variation. So many are working in topics related to operations, project management. Many are also working on topics more related to strategy, analytics. Some are also working in investment, banking, HR. So there's a quite wide variety of career options from this program. Then still briefly about the admission requirements. So the information on admission and the requirements is all available on this on the web page, which you see the link here at the bottom of the page. So just briefly, what we're looking for is three things: so the previous academic performance. Then the second one is the content of your previous degree. So the bachelor degree needs to be in some field of engineering. And what is important is that you also have at least 25 ECTS credits worth of business or management studies, because otherwise it would be very difficult to follow some of our courses. And then the third one is the motivation. So when you write your motivation letter, also consider what I presented earlier related to the community and the values of our community, and consider whether this is a place where you would like to study. One piece of information also is the tuition fee. So if you are from outside of the EU or the EEA area, then you need to pay a tuition fee, but there are also scholarships available. And all the information concerning these issues is available on this website. And we cannot really say more about the admission requirements here, because of course, no, you cannot have any, or we cannot give you more information than what is available on the official documents. The process, also all the information is on the web. So if this is now, if you feel okay, this is maybe not the degree for me, but I might still like to come to study here at Aalto University. So there's also plenty of other study options available. So there's plenty of other master's programs, and you find all that information on the Aalto websites. The application period now runs until the 3rd of January. We will notify you by the end of March. And then the studies actually start in early September 2020. So in the beginning, before the actual studies start, there's 1 week, so an orientation week getting started. So you should then also come a bit earlier to get a good start into your studies here. And then concerning the application process, all the information is available online. And if you have any questions concerning admissions, then please send a message to this email address, admissions@aalto.fi. I finally want to say a few words about Aalto University. Aalto University is a bit of a special university. It's the result of a merger of 3 universities: a technical university, a business school, and a university of arts and design. So that makes it very special, because we have all this diversity here in the university and also on the campus. So there's a lot of interesting opportunities, so interesting courses that you can take, a lot of interesting people that you can meet here. So this is really a university of opportunities. We are quite diverse. We have, to give you some idea about how big the university is, 12,000 students. And if I remember correctly, we have around 3,000, 3,500 international students, either enrolled in degree programs or exchange students, and from around 100 nationalities, almost 400 professors, and the share of the international faculty is around 40%. The campus is really a unique hub for collaboration. So all the students, faculty, everybody is now gathered together here on one campus. And so there's a lot of opportunities to meet, a lot of events that are taking place, a lot of special initiatives. So there's also research institutes. There's a startup center for startups to help new companies get a good start. The European Space Agency is here. We have companies close by. We have research centers close by. So there's a lot happening here, and so this is really one of those places where the future is being built. And the central topic really is entrepreneurship. So as I already said, many companies, startups have been founded by our alumni of our program. For the university as a whole, there's approximately 70 to 100 companies that are founded every year around the university. And also entrepreneurship is a topic that is embedded in study programs across the whole university. So many students are taking courses in entrepreneurship, and there's also courses in entrepreneurship. There's this Aalto Ventures program that organizes these courses, and those are the kind of courses that you can also participate in, and those are very multidisciplinary, and you will work there together with students from different programs all across the university. And finally, about Finland. So what is stated here is really true. So I myself, I'm also a foreigner here in this country. So Finland really is safe, relaxed, equal, and very pragmatic. So things really work here. It's also really easy to get around. So you don't need to speak Finnish, of course. We encourage you to learn Finnish while you're here, but you can get around easily in English, and so that is definitely not a problem. So well, that was basically it. So thank you for listening. So I hope that we have managed to get you interested in the program. And if you are interested, then we also look forward to your application. So I see that there are a few questions that you have asked. So you can continue to ask questions. We will now go them through and answer them. So the first question, what is the most pursued major? So as I said, we have these three majors, but there's also, everybody takes a common course, so one core course from each of the majors. So the most popular major now has been the strategy and venturing major, but I'm not really sure how much how important that really is, because that might not be the one for you. So I think what is really, really important is that you take a close look and see, okay, what is the right major for you? What is the topic that you are most interested in? Then the next question, asking about whether you should already have a thesis topic in mind when coming to study, or whether it is normally developed over time. So you don't need a thesis topic, and typically you find a company to work with during your studies. And there's also plenty of other topics. So not only companies offer topics or are looking for students to do a thesis, but there's also research projects that where you can take part in and do your thesis on a more academic project. So maybe Afnan, you want to say something?
I can also add one thing here is that you might think of doing something already, but when you come here, when you take the courses, your thinking develops much more, and then you can find other opportunities that you might not have thought about earlier. So it would always be good to delay the choosing of thesis until the end of first year. And when you come here, your thinking would develop in such a way that you would find much more opportunities to do your thesis.
Then the next question about the GMAT, GRE, whether that is mandatory for being admitted to the program. No, it is not mandatory. But again, you find all the information on the website. Now, if you have any additional documentation, like test results, then you might want to include that in your applications. Okay, next question about the number of students applying for one study spot. So the typical acceptance rate is around, let's say, 10 to 15%. So that should give you an idea about how competitive it is to get into this program. Then about the prerequisites, and if you already have a master's degree in technology. So the key issue is that whether this program would deliver you new additional knowledge. So typically you have a bachelor degree in industrial engineering and management, or really in a technical discipline in engineering, and have done some business management studies on as part of that degree. So that would be the typical requirement. And so if you have a master's degree, so that does not mean that you would not be able to get the place. So I would encourage you to definitely apply, and then we might also then need to look at this case by case. So there's always, of course, so people have different backgrounds and have taken different paths. So we're not ruling anything out by default, as long as you have the basic requirements of having a bachelor's degree and studies in business and management. Now, about these prior studies, what is important is that you actually have done these studies. So if you only have work experience, that have not taken any, so your management experience basically comes from having worked in a company, then that would be insufficient. So we require those credits. Now the thing is that it is also possible to compensate these studies. Again, take a look at the official requirements. So everything is listed there, but there's the possibility that you are accepted into the program, and then you would also need to still do certain types of courses when you're here in the program. Question about whether it is possible to work next to the master's program. So this is basically a full-time program, and there are definitely some study periods which are quite intensive. Now that said, many students actually do work also on the side. So having an additional job, that should be possible, but working full-time and taking this program, so this is not the idea of this program, so this is basically full-time study, so that would be very, very difficult, and it's definitely not to be recommended.
But yeah, I can add one thing here, that that of course part-time you can work, and also like apart from part-time there are many opportunities for the summer. So there are a lot of recruitment events that happen for summer jobs specifically, because there are a lot of companies who are looking for people to work for the 3 months in the summer. And I said, like, I have also personally worked part-time, but then of course you have to manage it with the study load, so that you complete your courses as well, and you manage the work expectations alongside it as well.
Yes.
Average GPA of applicants.
Yes, then we have two questions related to the application or the selection process. So about the average GPA and how we are actually selecting the applicants. So as said, unfortunately, I cannot really give more information about this than what is available on the relevant web pages. So I can only say this is definitely a competitive process. The three main criteria that we use, I have talked about them. You also then see those on the website, and the website also then details. It actually contains a lot more information than what I showed you here. So it also gives you some idea about the application process, that it's a two-stage process, and then some details on what we actually look at each of the stages. So please take a look at that, and that should give you also a lot of detailed information about the process.
The process of admissions and scholarships.
So the question related to the process also asked about scholarships, and again with the scholarships, so what we do is that we will either give a 100% or 50% waiver for the tuition fee to some of the candidates. Then that depends on how strong we believe that you are. So we make a decision about whom do we give a scholarship. And again, you find all this information on the relevant websites. And in addition to the waiver of the tuition fee, there's also other possibilities of financing your degree. So if you would pay the tuition fee, then you can also apply for a scholarship to different organizations that offer scholarships. And also there's also some information about that on the relevant websites. So on the program page, there's a link to the scholarships, and there you will find that information.
Recommended cost of living. So well, it depends a lot on your living style, I would say. But as said, and I think I also mentioned this, that your meals in the university, your accommodation on around or within the campus area, and your travels are quite subsidized. But then again, there's a lot of variation on how would you like to live. So like rough estimate could be from around 500 to 700 euros per month. But then it would also depend on how you like to live, and also where do you prefer to live. So sometimes students prefer to live on campus, like within the area of autonomy, but then there are also student apartments which are available in the city center. So that is more close to the city center, a little bit away from the campus, but it depends on your preference and your choice. What would you like to get out of it?
Yeah. So as I said, there are subsidies for apartments, for travel, and for food at the campus. And then, of course, Finland is, as also all the other Nordic countries, is rather comparatively expensive. So then it really depends on, for example, how much you want to go out, what actually are your costs of living. Good. Okay, I see that there are no more questions. So again, thank you for attending. So we hope that we have been able to create an interest in applying to the program, and also give you some idea about what it is like to study and to live here. So thank you for listening, and we look forward to receiving your applications. Thank you.